Hello everyone, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Information and Instructional Video segment. I am Atlanta 750 WRMR 367, and my name is Jeff. Today I'm going to walk you through the setup of the Anytone BT-01 Bluetooth microphone, and we're going to be pairing it with the Anytone D578 Pro. The instructions provided in the packaging and of the Bluetooth microphone say the firmware in the Pro model must be at least version 1.15. I've done a previous video on how to update the firmware in the radio. If you have not done that yet, you should pause here and go back to that video and update the firmware in your radio first. In the firmware video, I did not cover the SCT update, but the instructions are pretty clear in the download file, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Also, the Bluetooth software module update in the file download can only be done via an older Android device, which I do not have. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain the chart showing which software level the Bluetooth module needs to be at is simply a typo, and we don't have to worry about that for the Bluetooth mic to work correctly. Again, I could be wrong, but I know for a fact it does work with the firmware version for the Bluetooth module that's in this radio right now. I'll show you that logic in just a minute. So here we have the Anytone D578 UV Pro with GPS and Bluetooth, which is what this radio has. The firmware version in this radio is now at 1.18. My SCT version is at 2.01.07BF, so that is correct. The Bluetooth module software, again, there's a file to update that in the file folder downloaded from Bridgecom, but my logic is this. If we pull up the radio, and go into the menu, go down to settings, and go to device info. When we get to the software version of the Bluetooth, everything on this chart is exactly the same except for 4.3, and mine you can see on the radio ends in 3 something, and it's cut off on the screen of the radio. There may truly be an update, or maybe the chart has a typo in it, and that's not exactly correct. But I know the mic will work with that software that's in this radio right now. So we're going to take that ball and run with it. As far as the SCT update, here in the file that we downloaded from Bridgecom in the firmware update video, you can see this baseband 3258 version 2 blah blah blah. If we drill down on that folder, this Adobe file gives very clear instructions on how to update that SCT file. There's also a special program that you have to install on your computer to update that SCT file. So the instructions are pretty clear, and there's the actual file itself to update that SCT file in the radio. So you can follow along with those instructions if you'd like to update the SCT file in your radio, but that is where that information is found. The Bluetooth upgrade is right here if we drill down in this folder, and there is an update tool to update the Bluetooth module in the radio. However, that update tool only works on an older Android device. The much newer Galaxies and modern day Android devices it will not work with. So I do not have a device here to install this update or even read that file to know if that is newer than the version that's in my radio, but again, the version that's in my radio I know will work with this microphone, so we're going to roll with what we got. So if we switch over here, we'll give you a little rundown on what's in the box with this microphone. First thing you'll find is the instruction manual. Pretty clear-cut instructions by radio manual standards. It gives you a very good understanding of what the menu settings do and how to get to them and all those kinds of things. What the side buttons are labeled as, P1, P2, push to talk, those kinds of things. There's a little belt clip with 2 screws on the back of it, or 2 screws to go in the back of the device rather. And there's also a hardwire cable. It says it's 4 meters, so that should be about 12 feet. If you wanted to remote mount the radio, you can use that data cable instead of using the Bluetooth function. So you could hardwire the Bluetooth microphone, which would allow you to use this device and remote mount the radio. If you were in a small compact car or something of that nature, didn't want to have to worry about a Bluetooth signal or remembering to charge this device, you could then hardwire it, and this could be in your center console or a cup holder and be hardwired to the radio and not have to worry about Bluetooth. So as far as the Bluetooth device goes, there's 2 preset holes on the back to put the belt clip if you want to clip it on your visor or center console, or if you had a place that having that clip would be convenient. We got a little trap door here with the same K1 connector that the 878s use if you wanted to use a headset or a hand mic, which I don't know why you'd want to use a hand mic with this setup, but that functionality is there if you'd like. There's also the USB-C, trying to keep it in focus here for you. The USB-C port for charging the internal battery in this device is also behind that door. Then on the opposite side, we have the push to talk button, P1, P2, P3. So I'm going to switch back to the CPS software, and we are going to go over how we set this up in the CPS before we even think about pairing it to the radio. So in the CPS, the first thing we have to do is activate the Bluetooth menu in the software. So we go to Tools, and then we go to Options. You can check off Bluetooth, and then check off Bluetooth handset. Both of those boxes need to be checked off so that we can set up this microphone properly. So we're going to hit OK. Then if we go back into our optional settings, you will find that you now have a menu tab here that you did not have before. If we click on that, now you can see the Bluetooth settings for the radio, and we can also see the Bluetooth handset settings. So we can program what the buttons do, and we have a bunch of settings here for what they do, and we're going to drill down into those. So obviously Bluetooth on and off is pretty cut and dry. We're going to want to turn the Bluetooth on in the radio. Bluetooth internal speaker and Bluetooth internal mic. For this device specifically, these 2 settings have the same exact function, and I've stretched this out here so you can read the display as I click on them. Both of these will, when you use a BT-01 Bluetooth microphone, determine where the audio comes out. So if you want the audio to come out of the Bluetooth microphone, then you would leave it to off. If you would want the audio to come out of the speaker on the bottom of the radio, or if you're using the external speaker port on the back of the radio, then you're going to want to set these to on. And again, both of them have the same function, so I have them both turned on because I would prefer the audio to come out of the radio, not the Bluetooth speaker. Bluetooth mic gain is going to be similar to the gain settings you're used to on the radio. I have this one just defaulted at 3 for now, which may need to be adjusted later on once we get to using it and see how hot the microphone is. Bluetooth speaker gain is going to be the receive audio in the little speaker inside the Bluetooth microphone. And why I stretch this out is because you will see when you use the BT-01 microphone, the Bluetooth speaker gain will always return to its default level of 3 after the radio reboots. So if you get out of the truck and shut the radio off, it's going to go back to 3 anyways. So I just left it 3 here in the programming, and if the situation arises in the vehicle where I need to bump that up, I can in the settings, but it's going to default back to 3 anyway. Bluetooth hold time. So as you can see here in the settings of what they do, it's going to be how often the Bluetooth connection gets dropped between the radio and the handset. So if we shut it off, the Bluetooth connection is going to be dropped as soon as the signal or the received signal from whatever station you're listening to gets dropped. Then it's going to rebuild a connection every time a new signal comes in. If you're in the middle of a conversation, this is going to get very frustrating and very aggravating because every time the repeater drops, it's also going to drop the Bluetooth signal. So you're going to have a delay as it's rebuilding the connection on your receive, and it's going to get cut off. For those of you familiar with the North Georgia GMRS network and the way the linking structure works, it's going to sound very similar to somebody quick keying, and you're going to miss the first few words of every sentence that your receive audio comes back to you. So we can keep the connection for 1 to 30 seconds, obviously, and we can adjust accordingly. Or if we select infinite, the microphone will always stay connected to the radio even after the signal drops. So it will immediately pick up the signal and start giving us audio when the radio starts receiving again. If we set it to infinite, it's going to use up a little bit more battery, but for the purposes of not missing conversation, I would recommend setting it to infinite. Bluetooth RX delay is going to be how long the duration of the received signal has to be before it will start giving you the audio back through the speaker. So if you're not wanting to hear kerchunks and things like that, where it's just going to be a quick few milliseconds or 1 second, if you will, and then the repeater drops again, you will not hear audio out of the microphone. So you can change that setting to whatever your preference is, but I have mine set to the lowest possible setting, which is 30 milliseconds. The Bluetooth PTT hold is more so an application for the BT-02, which is the little black PTT button that comes with the radio. So you can set it to either be a momentary button, in other words, push and hold to continue transmitting, or you can set it as a latching switch where you push the button and it'll continue transmitting until you push it again. For my purposes, I'm leaving that setting off. And push-to-talk sleep time works very similar to the Bluetooth hold time, but that is with regard, again, to the little small black push-to-talk button that comes with the radio. So if we set it to infinity, that button will never go into dormant mode, and we can set it to go into dormant mode after 1, 2, 3, or 4 minutes, whatever your preference is, if you're using that PTT button for, let's say, hands-free Bluetooth in your vehicle, for example. The settings over here are going to be your preference on what the side P1, P2, and P3 programmable buttons do. I have mine set for a short key press of P1 monitor. Short key press of P2 will change my power. Short key press of P3 will change the main channel from main to sub. Long key press of P1 will mute channel A. Long key press of P2 will shut the sub channel on and off, which will just leave us with one instead of having dual receive displayed on the screen. And a long key press of P3 is going to be channel B mute. So long key 1 is a push and hold of the button for approximately 1.5 seconds. Long key 2 is a push and hold of the button for approximately 3 seconds. So I left long key 2's shut off because I can see that to be really confusing while you're driving to differentiate how long you held the button and did the setting change without looking at it. I can just see that as being a distraction personally, so I left that off. But if you're using it for a base station application, those may be useful to you and your mileage may vary. Mic gain, this is for the mic gain of the BT-01 microphone itself, whereas this setting was for overall Bluetooth microphone gain. This microphone gain setting is specifically for the BT-01 microphone only, the handset. Backlight duration is going to be how long you want the backlight to stay on. You can set it where basically the screen will shut off after so long, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, up to an hour. It'll shut off after an hour. The up and down is going to be if you want the up and down buttons on the top of the device to default to channel switching or default to volume switching. RX noise reduction and TX noise reduction. This device has noise canceling built into it both ways. So these settings here, you can adjust the noise reduction ratings, and you can see here it gives you a description for what each of them do and which way you need to go if you need slight noise reduction or increase it, whether you want it off or 1 through 9. So the RX and TX work both the same. They can be set off or anywhere from 1 to 9. For now, I just have them set to off. Bluetooth synchronization shut down host. This setting right here, if we shut off the Bluetooth microphone manually from the power button on the Bluetooth microphone, it will also shut down the host, being the radio. So if we leave that off, the Bluetooth microphone can be turned on and off independently from the radio. If we turn it on, when we turn on and off the Bluetooth microphone, it will turn the radio on and off. So again, with a small sedan, if you had the radio remote mounted in the trunk and you had your Bluetooth mic in the cup holder, you may want to turn that on so that when you switch off the Bluetooth microphone, you know it'll also shut off the radio, which you can't see because it's in the trunk, and have peace of mind that it's not going to run the battery down on the vehicle while you're parked overnight or wherever the situation may go. So this tab gets added when we enable those in the tool menu. So once we have all these settings set, we are going to have to go ahead and write all this information to the radio. I have already gone ahead and done this step, so that is already in the radio. So if we switch over here to the radio, you will now notice at the top of the screen above the 13 and the time, you will see the little blue squiggly Bluetooth symbol, as well as the P. The P means it's looking for the PTT button, and it's also in pairing mode because it's not paired to anything yet. So maybe a little difficult to see, but it does change color too once it's enabled and connected to something. So zoom out a little bit here. When we first turn the device on, you literally have 5 seconds to decide if you want it to be in Bluetooth mode or hardline cable mode that I showed you a little while ago, and connect it through the cable port on the bottom of the device, which would then also plug into the microphone port on the radio. If you do not select anything, as you can see what just happened, it defaults into Bluetooth mode. So if you're looking for a hardwired connection, you got 5 seconds to change it. Okay. So now this device is sitting here idling, waiting for a pair. All the pairing is done at this point from the setup of the radio. So if we scroll down now, we can go into Bluetooth settings, and Bluetooth is already on this radio, but you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that it is on your radio. And then we can go to pairing, and we're going to seek Bluetooth. Now you will notice what's on the screen of the radio here, ELET AGHF19E6, is also matching what's there. So it timed out because I wasn't quick enough while I was explaining it, so we're going to go back down to that. And we're going to select that one. So now you will see it says all data checking. All the information that we just put in the CPS as far as what the button functions do are now being transferred into the device itself. So the programmable buttons and all the menu settings that we changed in the CPS are now in this device. So the top buttons up here, up and down, are going to default to channel up and down, which is what we told it to do in the programming software. If we push the power button just a quick press, it will switch these up and down functions to volume, and you can see the volume bars coming up there now. The side buttons, change my grip here so you can see. Obviously the top one is the PTT button, then we have P1, which we set to monitor, and then the other programmable functions like main channel switch, P2 is power switch. You can see in the top left hand corner there it's switching to low, medium, high. The other indicator on the top of the screen right now, you'll notice it says volume. When we push the power button quick, it will give us an indication as to what these top buttons are doing. Right now it says channel, and then if I push it again, it'll switch back to volume. So the bottom P3 button should be our main channel switch, so we can drop down to the simplex function. And if we're trying to listen to repeater traffic and there's simplex traffic going on, we have programmed P3 with a long press to mute channel 2, so sub-channel rather, which is currently on channel 2. So right now sub-channel is muted, and you can hear the beep, and it lets us know that it is unmuted again. So that's it in a nutshell. And again, with the Bluetooth software options not matching up, you can see the microphone works just fine. It is paired correctly, and everything seems to be working fine, which is what leads me to believe that that software version is indeed a typo, but maybe there's something in that software update that may be a little beneficial, but like I said, you're going to have to find an old Android device to even get that to function. So that's where I'm at. And without doing the Bluetooth software update on my radio, this device is functioning just fine. And for those of you who are interested in using the data cable in hardwiring this device in your vehicle or base station or any of those kinds of things, it's going to function exactly the same as it does in Bluetooth mode, only with a cord. You're obviously not going to have the Bluetooth connection because it's going to be plugged into the mic port. And you also won't have to worry about charging it because it's going to get its power from the face of the radio in the microphone port as well. So I hope that helps you solve your troubles if you were having trouble setting up this Bluetooth microphone, or maybe you were interested in the Bluetooth microphone and weren't exactly sure what you could do and what the buttons do and how that was going to interact with the radio itself. So hopefully this is a good demonstration for you. Unfortunately, right here, right now, I do not have an antenna hooked up to it, so I can't let you hear audio transmissions and receives from this particular radio. In the studio here, I do not have an antenna to hook up to this radio, so maybe we'll do another short video of it actually working and functioning, talking to a repeater or some simplex traffic, but for now, that's it in a nutshell for setup. So again, I would like to thank Chat Radio for all that they do for our network and supplying us with some of this equipment so we can do the radio demonstrations and instructional videos with some of this equipment. So I hope it helps you guys get things figured out. And I know the new radio with new software and firmware and all these things can sometimes be confusing and you get lost, and sometimes the instructions aren't always to the point and easy to follow. So hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. We are North Georgia GMRS, and I am Atlanta 750 WRMR 367, and my name is Jeff. And I hope this helps you get over your Bluetooth blues and gets you on the air real soon.